I was tortured and I was not allowed then to sleep when I was arrested. Whenever I was falling asleep, a soldier used to kick me in the head so I could not sleep.
To Greg Barton, a professor of global Islamic politics at Deakin University. He joins us from Melbourne. Greg, thanks so much for your time. Listen, if you don't mind, I want to address this to start with, looking specifically at your specialization as a professor of global Islamic politics. Do you think the location of this conflict for those Australian soldiers, of whom there are 25, so a minority of the Australian forces who are in Afghanistan, but could possibly the location have made a difference to the calculations they were making in their head, thinking, this is Afghanistan, this is so far from home, these are people I don't know, I don't understand, I can't even communicate with them. Might that have made a difference?
That certainly does appear to be the case. I mean, this is a tragic, awful case of soldiers who should have been disciplined and serving instead, at least 25 of them, treating people as being less than human. Now, why do people do that? Yes, when people are foreign or different religion, different language, that makes it easier to treat them as less than human. It's no excuse. We haven't had similar reports from operations, for example, in East Timor or elsewhere. Perhaps they may come out, but maybe there was something about the Afghan theatre that, yes, some who were predisposed to think in this hyper-macho way to dehumanize other human beings found it easier to do so.
I mean, obviously, there's lots of issues regarding possible compensation for those who were killed, the discipline that those found guilty may be facing. But a lot of it is almost just a gut reaction to what's come out in the report. I mean, this one piece that the chief of the Australian Defence Force was talking about in his news conference, where he said all of this happened not in the heat of battle. In other words, he said none were alleged to have occurred in circumstances in which the intent of the perpetrator was unclear, confused, or mistaken. I mean, he's basically saying that these guys knew exactly what they were doing and they were murdering people.
That's right. We appear to have 39 at least cold-blooded murders. You can understand soldiers, going into a village in the middle of night, coming under fire, panicking, making mistakes. This was not that situation. Apparently what we're dealing with is a deliberate cold-blooded decision. It's clearly so horrible that those who have seen the unredacted details, seasoned soldiers like the Chief of Defence Force, are personally shocked. That says something. I met Major Jeff Sengelman, who was in charge of Special Operations Command some years ago, and he spoke about wanting to follow up something that was going wrong. He had found out news of this and was so shocked that he wanted to follow through. I think everyone has been surprised by what's come out of this inquiry. We perhaps haven't seen the end of it yet, but it is this cold-blooded nature of the violence which is so hard to understand.
Considering the remit of their operation, where they were going, who they were fighting, and why they were doing that to keep the rest of the world safe, as well as Afghan civilians, are you surprised at the attitude of the platoon commanders who are accused of coercing or encouraging younger soldiers to carry out their first kills by killing a civilian? In other words, if we're here to protect these people and we're performing acts like this, we're just counterproductive in terms of what we're doing.
Absolutely. I mean, how can you take a position saying the Taliban are behaving in a atrocious fashion if you return the same sort of violence where you treat some people as being subhuman? It's only going to undermine any good work you might be doing. And there was a lot of good work done by many people trying to change Afghanistan, but this just reverses that. This is a very disciplined Special Air Services regiment. Most of them understand that discipline, and most of them, as far as we know, have behaved in an extraordinary fashion. But war brings out the best and the worst in people, including in soldiers, and this is some of the worst aspects coming out without an excuse. And it's indefensible in terms of human rights, but it also completely undermines their whole military mission of what they were trying to do to help the Afghan people.
Greg, do you know what Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister, is talking about when he says there are more investigations to come?
We've heard the Chief of Defence say that he's encouraging members of the public and current serving and former serving personnel to come forward. It looks as if there is more to come. That would just seem logical. So 39 confirmed deaths. involving 25 individuals, but very possibly there's quite a bit more to come. I think what the Prime Minister was also referring to is that there's reducted aspects of this report that will eventually come out, and we'll be shocked when we find out, once it's been through the proper legal process, and so that's not prejudiced. Once it's possible to speak fully about what's there, it is, as I've said, even for seasoned senior military personnel, it surprised them and shocked them as to what's gone on, and perhaps there's more to be revealed yet.
Greg, thank you so much indeed for coming on to the programme. Greg Barton, Professor of Global Islamic Politics at Deakin University in Australia.